Welcome to 365 Christian Men, where every day we aim to inspire and encourage with real-life stories about men. October 24th, Bruce Olson. Bruce is a Scandinavian American Christian missionary, best known for his work in bringing Christianity to the Motilone Indians of Colombia and Venezuela. But on his very first trip into the jungle, Bruce walked in circles for hours. And when he stopped for the night, he had no machete, not even a tool to open his can of sardines. He sat on the trail with his mule, and when he realized that the mule wasn't scared, Bruce figured he would be all right too. Getting to all right had some hiccups, but welcoming this people to faith in Jesus was worth it. After years serving the Motilone people, on this date in 1988, Bruce was captured by a band of guerrilla terrorists who wanted to control the territory, and God rescued him again. Today's story takes place in the early days, when Bruce was first reaching out to the Motilone Indians.
Many men run from danger, but brave men run toward it and overcome. Weak and wounded, Bruce Olson stumbled onward through the jungle, and every time he slowed his pace, a hostile native jabbed him with an arrow. They led him forward to a clearing and then locked him up in an Indian longhouse. For days, he suffered there. An infection had spread from an arrow that had been pulled out of his thigh. His stomach ached from hunger, and pungent smells of burning monkey fur and parrot feathers gagged him. He was held captive for a month, but it seemed like an eternity. But Bruce never stopped praying. Then one moonlit night, Bruce made his daring escape, and miraculously, he survived. Now he could go back to America, where he would be safe. But he didn't. Instead of running from danger, God would lead him to return to it. Years earlier, when Bruce was a teenager, he had heard a rousing sermon on the need to reach unreached people groups for Christ. This began an inner struggle. Why can't I be your servant here in Minneapolis? He had asked the Lord. But God didn't answer him. Instead, he slowly changed his heart until the idea of serving in a foreign land would become intriguing. South America had captured his interest. Two countries in particular, Colombia and Venezuela. He knew he had to go. Once Bruce obeyed God and surrendered to the idea of going to the mission field, he became unstoppable. He was only 19 years old, and with only $70 in his pocket and no missionary backing to support him, he flew to South America. Zechariah 4:6 says, "Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord Almighty." Bruce prepared by spending several months adjusting to jungle life with a less aggressive tribe called the Hiccups. He convinced 6 of them to guide him into Motilone territory. This was the expedition that had ended with Bruce's unfortunate capture. After escaping the Motilone captivity, Bruce again felt God prompting him to reach the Motilones for Christ. But this time, he left gifts on their trails and waited to see what they would do. When they appeared, they cautiously received him as harmless, even as a friend. God had granted Bruce's acceptance into the tribe. The Motilones even gave him a name, Bruchko. Incredibly, the Motilones had held an ancient belief that a tall prophet with yellow hair, just like Bruce had, carrying banana stalks would one day appear and lead them to God. Knowledge of God would come to them, they felt, through these banana stalks. But Bruce didn't understand exactly what that meant. One day, though, when Bruce and the Motilones were hunting, they talked about the legend, and then they came upon 2 Motilones, one looking for God in a hole and the other over the horizon. Someone then sliced open a fallen stalk, and the inner leaves fell open like the pages of a book. That's when Bruce got it. "This is it," he said. "This is God's banana stalk." He then took out his Bible and held it up. Then he proceeded to share the gospel in ways the natives could understand. Eventually, nearly the entire Motilone tribe began to walk on Jesus' trail through faith in Jesus Christ. No one could ever have suspected that a nearsighted, blonde, unassuming teenage boy would leave the United States to reach a tribe so fierce and isolated that he would be the first to contact them with the gospel. Yet Bruce Olson believed he was called to be like Jesus wherever it would take him, and he went. Jesus said, "I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. And apart from me, you can do nothing." John 15:5. With Jesus, we can do anything he asks. Is God asking you to reach out to someone? Take a step of faith toward that person today. Many men run from danger, but brave men run toward it and overcome.
Thank you for listening to today's story. Every day of the year, our hope is to inspire you with real-life stories of faithful men who have gone before us. Hebrews 12:1 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." Join us tomorrow for another story at 365christianmen.com.